And hi and welcome from Rudy's on the Circle in Waco. Welcome into our Baylor Coaches Show on this open date week. Open date coming up this Saturday for Baylor. Welcome in. Glad you're with us. And folks, join me in welcoming Shawn Bell with us tonight. Shawn, welcome. Appreciate you being here.
Glad to be here. Appreciate you having me.
Good deal. Great. We appreciate it. It is an open date this week. I think people might be interested in knowing your practice schedule. What has that been like? How different has it been this week?
Well, we've hit the ground running on when we got back Monday, and hadn't changed much from a physical standpoint. You know, Coach Rule, we're trying to develop them every day, in and out. And so Monday we hit it running physical, and Tuesday, Wednesday, today we had only about an hour practice this morning, and then gave our guys off. And so they're off tonight, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then come back Monday preparing for Oklahoma State. So a little bit of time for them to catch their breath, go home, kind of regroup, and then go into the second part of the season that we're looking forward to.
That's great. They've earned a little break. I mean, you hadn't had much break at all, have you?
No, we haven't. You know, NCAA allowed us to start a little bit earlier this year, so we took full advantage of that. And our guys have been, hit the ground running in July and haven't looked back. So it's definitely good for them to kind of catch their breath this week and like I said, get ready for the second stretch of the season that we got big things planned for.
5 games down, 7 to go in the season. Starts up again next week at Oklahoma State. Unfortunately, the Kansas State game, more injuries. That injury bug has really bit you guys lately. Yeah,
we had some unfortunate injuries and some big ones on offense and some on defense this past week. So that's part of the game. I mean, everybody in the country is dealing with the same thing, and that's our job, is to find a way to overcome that. And we've had guys step up, and it's neat for us because guys are getting opportunities that didn't early in the season. And you look at Pooh Strickland this past week and what he was able to do with Chris out, and there'll be more guys that step up throughout the season. So that's going to come with football. That's going to happen, and it's our job as coaches and our team to, when that happens, to overcome it.
Very good. Lost Drew Galitz also, and unfortunately it was a non-contact injury. It was on the opening kickoff. Man, I hate it when you got guys that are playing so well like him that get injured, and he's probably out for the year.
Right, just breaks your heart because Drew's such a competitor, and I know he's a punter and kicker, but he's a fiery guy for our team, and he's been a weapon for us. And you're right, it was the opening kickoff. I saw it happen, went straight to Coach Coach Rule, and like, oh my goodness, because it was such a freak deal and a freak accident. But I know Drew's going to bounce back. I told him just the other day I played with a tremendous punter that dealt with the same thing, and it didn't faze him a bit. And I know Drew, his competitive nature and his work ethic, he won't miss a beat.
Boy, that's great. What's the mindset of the team right now? I mean, you guys, especially, I think, still getting better every week, and the great performance against Oklahoma, but that was a loss, and then made a nice comeback against Kansas State. That third quarter, you kind of owned the third quarter, right, but still came back with a loss from there. What's the mindset like?
Well, it's unbelievably positive, and I know that you find out a lot about yourself when you lose, and we're finding a lot about our program and our team these past 5 football games, and it's going to not only help us for this year, but in the future as well. And we got leaders that are emerging from this. Zach Smith has done an unbelievable job of kind of taking the reins in his leadership role, and you saw he earned the number 8 this week, which is a big deal for our program. But the kids are responding, and I know that one of the things Coach Rule said this past week that kind of stuck with me was, you don't become a good sailor, sailing through smooth seas. There's stormy seas, there's rough seas that you've got to go through to become a good sailor. And our football team have gone through that, and eventually we're going to learn from that and develop from that.
Yeah. Talking about Zach, he earned the single-digit jersey number 8 that was announced this week. I think he's earned it. I mean, with what he's gone through and the way he's handled everything so well, it's great to see that happen.
Yeah, he's a winner, and he's had coming from the bowl game, I've got an opportunity to really develop a relationship with him. And first couple weeks were hard on him, not being able to start, and he didn't bat an eye. He prepared himself and handled it like a champion, and he's got a tremendous future. In these next 7 games, you're really going to see him shine.
Good. You're a former quarterback at high school and here at Baylor. What do you see in Zach? What's his makeup that you think really makes him a top-notch quarterback?
Well, from a physical standpoint, I mean, his arm strength is second to none. I mean, he's got an NFL talent arm. He's got the stature, the size. But what's impressed me the most has been the mental side. And when I hear Coach Thomas ask him questions, when I hear Coach Nixon, Coach Rule ask him questions, he knows the offense inside and out, and he's unbelievably mental win the game and understanding what we want. But one of the things that I think makes him so special is he doesn't get phased. Nothing gets to him. He stays the same composure at everything that happens. And so being on the sideline and seeing him interact that way and overcome some of the negative that happened these 5 games for him. I think that's what makes a true quarterback. Is not when you throw the touchdown. It's when a bad play happens how you respond, and Zach's phenomenal at that.
Yeah, that's really good. I remember the K-State game, J.J. Joe's on the radio with us, made note a couple of times in that game where Zach had a throw from the far hash maybe to the near sideline, and it might have only been 10 yards upfield or downfield, but that's a long throw from one hash to the other sideline, and he zipped it both
Absolutely.
times.
It's a 10-yard out, probably one of the hardest throws to make as a quarterback.
Yep.
And, for me, it was a hard one to throw into the boundary. For Zach, it's nothing. He can throw it to the field. And you look in college football and you watch NFL games on Sunday, that's the area of the field that doesn't get covered much is the field flat, and he can make that throw with ease. It's unbelievable, and just a sight to see every day.
Yeah, really impressive. Charlie Brewer got in the game. Y'all put him in there, a little change of pace.
Right.
What have you seen from him in practice? And I know now you want to try to find him some snaps in the games, don't you?
Well, Charlie's a winner, and that's what he brings to the table, and Zach does too. But the thing about Charlie is he's kind of a little bit different than Zach. His stature's not the same, his arm strength's not the same, but he just finds a way to move the football, finds a way to make plays, and he's a very athletic young man that you wouldn't recognize just watching him in high school. He can run, and he's a tremendous athlete, and so it was good for him to get in there and get his opportunity, and he's going to get more as the season goes on. And it's not because of Zach, it's because just different packages that we're going to have for Charlie.
Yeah, that's what you were trying to do on that series, just show them a different look, maybe use his running ability.
Absolutely, and that's kind of with two scholarship quarterbacks that were available in the last week's game, take hits away from Zach, and give Charlie an opportunity to go in there and do things with his feet and his arm, and give him a chance to show what he can do as well.
All right, very good. Well, we're glad you're here with us. Let's take a break. We'll be back with more in a moment. We'll let Shawn tell us what his role as an offensive analyst, what that means, what you do on a day-by-day and week-by-week basis. So we'll have that when we come back. Plenty more. Plus, we'll reminisce a little bit with Shawn Bell. We're glad you're with us. This is the Baylor Coaches Show. We're live at Rudy's, presented by Rudy's Real Texas Barbecue, and we'll be right back after this.
Join me
from Rudy's on the Circle in Waco. Appreciate you being with us. The Baylor Coaches Show brought to you in part by Jim Turner Chevrolet, the #1 customer-rated dealership in Central Texas. When we say you're just like family, we have the people to back it up. Visit them online at turnerchevy.com. Also brought to you by DuBois Furniture, where beautiful homes happen. With Shawn Bell, Baylor offensive analyst for Baylor football. And, you're going to have to explain to us, what does that mean? What do you do? What are your responsibilities in that role as offensive analyst on Coach Rule's staff?
Right. So NCAA has strict guidelines as far as what you can do as an off-the-field coach, and so we have 9 what is considered countable coaches along with Coach Rule, and they're allowed to interact with the players through X and O's, hold meetings, coach on the field. Then there's off-the-field positions that I'm allotted, and so as an analyst, my job is to kind of self-scout. Number one, see what we're doing well, what we're not doing well. Also, prepare for opponents, and kind of get just to be the right-hand guy of Coach Nixon and Coach Thomas, and anything they need as we prepare for opponents throughout the week. And then as far as interacting with student athletes, most of my stuff is through encouragement and just through the mental side of game. And I'm not able to discuss X and O's with them, but I can, when things go good or things go bad, I can encourage. And so that's what I try to do. And it's definitely been a transition for me. I've been a head coach the last 8 years, and but it's also good to sit back and evaluate and see what and really enjoy what Coach Rule does, what Coach Nixon does, what Coach Snow on the defensive side does, and really just try to learn and whatever I can, whatever the rules allow me to do, I'm going to push to the limits to hopefully better our team.
I'm sure it's a great learning experience for you. Isn't it?
Absolutely, and that's been the biggest blessing of all. And that when the opportunity arose, then Coach Rule reached out to me and had this opportunity come up. That's kind of what my wife Haley and I talked about. Is if you ever want to get in this game, if you ever want to get in the college football ranks, what a great opportunity to do. And like I said, it's kind of taking a step back, going from a head coach to an off the field position. But that's what I try to do every day, just better help any way I can, but also better myself for the future.
Good. Was it I'm sure it was. You just weighed the options there. Was it a tough decision for you? I mean, because you had been a head coach, high school head coach, like you said, for 8 years.
Right. It definitely was, and I think it was because of the place I was. I was at Cedar Ridge High School in Round Rock, and coming off a successful year. I think we're 11-1 last year, and a great group of kids coming back. And it was definitely a tough decision. But, when I met Coach Rule and got to see what he stood for and what he's all about, it was a no-brainer. And like I say, just the opportunity to come back. And, Baylor's changed so much since I was here. And it changed so much from a facility standpoint, from, just the type of player we have to everything. But the one thing that when I walked back in the doors, when I got to meet Coach Rule for the first time, is the people of Baylor are just special people, and the fans and everything. So it's been a blessing, and definitely the right decision.
Well, we're glad you're back. We're really glad you're here, and it's obviously a great fit. You and David Wetzel back, and then Coach McGuire, to have that Texas high school experience, that you guys bring back, I think that's just huge.
Absolutely. I know Coach Rule's on the road right now. He's sending texts just a second ago about, I'm going to this game, I'm going to that game. How do I get in? How do I do this?
He's asking you that, right?
Right. So definitely we can help in that aspect, and I think that's, I think that tells you a lot about Coach Rule. Is he kind of went on a limb and with three guys that he knew nothing about, and gave us an opportunity that I think hopefully is going to pay off.
Good. What you say Baylor and Baylor football has changed a lot since your time here. What were the things that really hit you between the eyes, as far as changes, upgrades, just moving forward over that time?
Well, I think probably the biggest thing would be the resources. You walk through the weight room, you walk through the indoor facility, you walk through the bank, which gives us unbelievable, sports nutrition. You walk, up through the offices, then you go over to McLean Stadium. I can still remember driving over to Dutton Avenue and going to Floyd Casey for everything. And these kids, these kids come to one place. They have their study hall, they have their, their meals. We're really set up for success, and that's a testament, to Baylor and our support and our loyal fans and those and all the people that have made that possible.
Yeah, that's really cool. You can see it because you lived through it. When you were here as a student athlete, now you're back, and you can see the progress in so many areas. You didn't exactly have a nutrition center, did you?
No. I wish we would. Maybe I could learn how to eat the right way.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd probably look a little different right now. No, our nutrition and sport performance are second to none. Those guys do it. I mean, they monitor every single thing our kids put in their body and weigh them every day, and it's so neat to see.
Aren't they great?
They're unbelievable.
I mean, they really are. I mean, Baylor's on a par with any school in the country, really, in that area.
Right.
So when you were here, here's a loaded question for you. Okay, any particular game stand out in your mind from your time playing at Baylor?
Yeah, I think obviously the one I always hear about is probably the 2004 game at A&M.
A&M.
I think the thing that made that special was not that it was a big win just for that scenario, but for me it was something special because the week before we played in Iowa State for homecoming, and got blindsided, fumble kind of cost us the game, and I was struggling a little bit. My confidence was down, and people probably don't know this, but my dad went to A&M. At the time I wasn't dating my wife, but my wife's an Aggie. I kind of grew up almost in that realm. And when I became a freshman in high school, kind of became Baylor, and that's where I always wanted to go. So when I came here as a freshman, my goal was to beat A&M. And I remember sitting in a meeting with our head coach at the time, Coach Steele, and he said, "Name a goal." And he said, I want to beat A&M. And he said, "Well, be more specific." And I said, "Well, I want to beat A&M my sophomore year."
Wow.
And that was the year. And I wasn't starting going into that season, and that was my first start that game. My dad went to A&M. So for me, it wasn't just the big win of, I guess it was 19 years or something like that. It was something special for me, and just was big for my confidence and my future here at Baylor.
And the way you won it, obviously, I mean, that was huge.
Right,
2-point conversion.
Absolutely,
in overtime.
That was probably more Dominique than me. He kind of found a way to get open.
No. Come on now. And, it was both of you.
It was a magical night, and I know that, like I say, it was big for me and our team, and kind of was a stepping stone at that time of that led to more wins down the road.
Yeah, huge, and for Baylor fans, I mean, that was really a kind of a watershed moment. I mean, it had been 19 years since Baylor had beaten A&M. There was a tie in there, but no Baylor victories over A&M. And then the way you did that, and the crowd, and the reaction, and everything, that's one that'll live forever.
It was definitely special for me, and so I'm glad I was able to provide that memory. I know there's some bad ones probably out there that I provided too, but it was definitely a good one, and I know that I think it's something Baylor people definitely remember.
We dwell on the good ones, that's for sure.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that was great. So your time at Baylor as a student athlete, or let me go back. With the A&M background, your dad and everything, what was it that intrigued you so much about Baylor?
Well, I think it was I wanted to be different, and I think that, when I was a little bit different in the fact that I wanted to kind of be a difference maker, and at the time Baylor wasn't popular, Baylor wasn't, successful, so I kind of wanted to be the guy that helped turn that around. And when I committed extremely early, before even early commits were really a thing, and my job then was kind of to get our class going and get more guys here. So that was always my deal, is I wanted to be the guy that turned it around, and I wasn't able to do that. But I think through those ups and downs, my time at Baylor was unbelievable. It prepared me for so many things in life, and probably the biggest thing it prepared me for was my sons. And we had a tough time with my two boys when they were born, and battled through some serious things. So the ups and downs, and really the downs of overcoming some stuff in my career here at Baylor, really prepared me for those opportunities.
Wow, that's very well said. How about your dad? People know your dad, Mark, is the coach at China Spring, has been there for a while. Your brother is there on staff. Mm-hmm. Brian is there.
Yes, sir.
And how great is that to be back in Waco, back at Baylor? Your family's all around you, here
right.
Where you grew up. How fun is that for you?
Oh, it's unbelievable. And who it's best for is probably my parents, and my in-laws, because they get to see the grandkids more than they did. And it's been a progression. We lived in Clifton when we were married, and went to North Houston as a head coach there in 6 years, and then moved to Round Rock. So I've slowly been getting closer. And to be home is second to none. And for my kids to grow up around Waco and around Baylor and around China Spring, and it's been a great opportunity. And that's kind of when Haley and I made this decision. If I was ever going to jump into the college ranks, for it to be at Baylor, for it to be at home, it was a no-brainer.
That's cool. How much do you and your dad and Brian, how much do y'all talk shop if you're sitting around at dinner or something?
Well, that's always been something that we've been good about, is that we've been able to separate it a little bit. But the thing that's neat for me is I was the same in my brother's shoes at the same time in his career. I was the coordinator at China Spring early in my career, and it propelled me for lucky to get some opportunities from there. And but it's good. I get to kind of see them go through the same things that my dad and I went through, and some of those same wins and losses. And but it's definitely a joy to have I think what my dad always told me was when I chose to be a coach, it was the biggest compliment to him. And there's not a bigger role model in my life than my father. And so for me to do what he did, that meant that he was special to me. And for my brother to do that, I think that's a testament, hopefully, to me, that it's something I did made him a coach. And so for all three of us to do this on a daily basis, it's a blessing.
Wow, that's really cool. Great family. You're a part of a great family. And again, we're glad you're back here in Central Texas. Let's take a break, and then when we come back, we'll take your questions from the audience here for Shawn Bell. So fill those out if you haven't already. Somebody will come by and pick those up. We've got questions presented by First Place Foods. That's a darn good pickle, and we'll have that when we come back with Shawn Bell on the Baylor Coaches Show, live from Rudy's, and we'll be right back after this.
This segment of the
Live from Rudy's on the Baylor Coaches Show. We're glad you're with us. Remember the H-E-B Tailgate Village. If you're looking for a great tailgate spot before Baylor home games, stop by the H-E-B Tailgate Village, located just outside Gate D at McLean Stadium. Enjoy yard games, music, and a visit from Baylor Spirit Squad while you try out the variety of food offerings at the H-E-B food truck. Open 2.5 hours before the game. It's free, open to the public. Take game day to the next level at the H-E-B Tailgate Village. And back live from Rudy's with Shawn Bell, offensive analyst for Baylor football. Here's the time of the show, Shawn, when we ask folks to either text in a question or folks here in the audience ask a question of you, okay? Friendly fire from these people. I mean, they're all great. So they come from here's another one, so we'll collect that. But this is our questions for our guest, presented by First Place Foods, Hunn's Private Stock Pickles and Relish, proud sponsors of Baylor Bear Athletics. That's a darn good pickle, available at restaurants and food service outlets throughout the Southwest. So the first one of these is here from Keena Cummings. Where's Keena in the room? All right, right there. There's from Keena, and she says, what's your best Baylor memory, football or what? Or not? Oh, best memory, either Baylor football or not, I guess.
Right. I'd probably two that stick out. Obviously, we talked about the one was A&M.
Right.
The memory of that, though, was probably when we called timeout to go for two. I looked up in the bleachers to see my parents, and my mom was, she had her hands on her head, and she's almost in panic, and my dad's telling everybody else we're going for two. And then as soon as the play was over, my dad was on the field faster than anybody, so I hugged him, and that was neat. But the other one would probably be my senior year at Colorado. We won I think a triple overtime game up there when Joe Pavelec caught the interception, and we had a lot of fans and people up there, and just to celebrate that and get that win on the road, that was a tremendous memory as well.
Boy, those are two great ones.
They were great games, and just memories of a lifetime.
Very good. Those are great memories. All right, our next question. This is from young Taylor Bryan is here, and Taylor says, "What have you learned during your time already here at Baylor on Coach Rule's staff?"
Well, I think the biggest thing that I've learned from Coach Rule is to do things right, and that's something that there are no shortcuts. And I think everybody, including me, and I know Coach Rule, nobody wants to win more than us. And the wins are going to come, and I know they're going to come because we do things right. And from everything we do, how the kids come in the building to what they're doing in class to every single thing that they do, he wants them to be champions for life. And I know that's going to pay off in the long run. And we're so lucky to have not only Coach Rule, but Mac Rhodes and people in our athletic department that are not just caring about developing the athlete, but developing the person. And Coach Rule's second to none when it comes to that. So I know, first 5 games haven't gone in the way any of us want them to go, but these next 7, we kind of talked about it. This is our second season. Our first season's over with. Let's forget the first season. This is our second season, and the wins are going to come, the second season and in the future because Coach Rule believes in doing things right.
Boy, that's great. And I got to tell you this. Somebody texted me this week, first of the week, and said, "Give me your input. How bad are things?" It's kind of the gist of what he was saying. And I said, listen, we're not where we want to be with record-wise, but with Coach Rule and the staff here, he's doing things the right way, and we're going to be fine.
Right.
I mean, it's just going through the process, and we keep saying that, the process, but it's factual, and I really feel good about the program and where we're headed.
Absolutely, and I think that Coach Rule is just what we needed, and I know that as an alumni I can say that, now as an employee I can say that, and I think this week is our 6th week of the season, and are coming into a bye week after being 0-5. We had guys not missing class, we have guys early to study hall, we have guys that are doing things right, and I know that's going to pay dividends, and that's going to just carry over. And in these next 7 games, I think you're going to see the difference.
Very cool. All right, Taylor, good question. Get you some Hunn's private stock pickles and some Rudy's barbecue sauce also. All right, another question, final one of these is from Steve Van Wagner right here, front and center.
Hey, Steve.
And Steve says the defensive secondary appears to be playing too far back. Coach Steve Van Wagner says, could you comment on that?
Yeah, I know. I'm not blessed to coach the defensive backs, but I can tell you that they're coached as good as anybody in the country. Coach Fran Brown coaches our corners, and Coach Snow. If you haven't had the opportunity to meet Coach Snow and get to know Coach Snow, he's as good a mind as there is. And you talk about learning. That's a guy I try to learn from him and Coach Daly on a daily basis. But every situation is different. It may be 3rd and long, so we're trying to stay back to rally up on the chains, or maybe a different thing that we're backing off a receiver. But I have full confidence in Coach Snow and Coach Brown that they're always going to put our defensive backs in the right position. And I think that's the hardest position on the field to play. Until you go out there and line up across from some of these guys that they're lining across from on a every Saturday basis, I think I'd probably back up a little bit.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
But no, Coach Brown and Coach Snow do a tremendous job, and our defensive backs are blessed to have both those guys.
Yeah, great coaches. And I would just add this: it's fun to watch them work. It's fun
Absolutely.
to watch them coach and teach. I mean, they're real teachers,
right.
aren't they?
Absolutely, and that's what I think Coach Rule prides himself on, is we're going to be one of the best teaching staffs.
Yeah.
It's not about what you know, it's how you teach, and exactly right. Coach Brown takes pride in that, and so does Coach Snow.
Very good. All right, great questions. Thank you very much. And that's our questions for our coach tonight, brought to you by First Place Foods, Hunn's Private Stock Pickles, and Relish, available at restaurants and food service outlets throughout the Southwest. Well, we're going to let you go and get home to your family. I'm sure they're waiting for you there.
Yeah, it's a bye week, so we're excited to spend some time together.
Exactly. So take advantage of that. Folks, do you appreciate Shawn Bell being with us tonight?
Thank you.
Here on our Coaches Show, Baylor offensive analyst. We'll cut Shawn loose. Walter Abercrombie will join us in just a few minutes. Stay with us. Thanks to Nick, our host here, Nick Rodriguez, our host here at Rudy's. We appreciate Rudy's as the host of the Baylor Coaches Show. Take a break and be right back here at Rudy's Real Texas Barbecue.
This segment of the
John Bell with us tonight. Appreciate him very much on an off week, an open day to come in and be with us here on the Coaches Show. Walter Abercrombie will join us in just a few minutes. Right now it's time for our scholar athlete that we'd like to recognize each week. And then we'll give you our Southwest Sports Medicine injury report also. But our scholar athlete for this week is Jaron McVeigh, talking about defensive backs. Jaron's a redshirt freshman, a computer science major with a 3.22 grade point average. So outstanding in the classroom, getting some snaps in the defensive secondary for the Bears. Jaron McVeigh is our scholar athlete of the week, computer science major with a 3.22 grade point average. So congratulations to him for the job he's doing on the field and in the classroom as well. Our injury reports brought to you by Southwest Sports Medicine, the official team doctors for Baylor Athletics. And again, we talked about it with Shawn, not particularly good news. We are getting some guys back, but the Kansas State game was another very physical game. And we did lose Drew Galitz, who's the kickoff man and the punter par excellence for the Bears. On the first kickoff of the game, he just came down on his knee wrong. It was a non-contact injury, and he is out for the year. So we've lost Drew Galitz as our main punter and kickoff man for the season. So that came out of the Kansas State game. Clay Johnston broke a thumb, I believe, in the game there, and he will now have that, or has had that operated on, and luckily for him, it's an open date, and hopefully they can cast that up or club it up, and he'll be able to play, because that would be a huge loss if we weren't able to get Clay Johnston or keep him on the field. So those are the ones that are out from the most recent game. On the good news side, Jamichael Hasty could be back for the Oklahoma State game. Jamichael was injured in the first game of the year, the game against Liberty, injured his knee, but he's been doing yeoman's work rehabbing and could very well be back. So it'd be great to add him to the mix in the backfield, hopefully getting Jamichael Hasty back. That is good news. And that's our Southwest Sports Medicine injury report. Southwest Sports Medicine, the official team doctors for Baylor Athletics. And as we pass the half-hour mark, look who's coming in. Walter Abercrombie is going to join us right after a break. Stay with us. The Baylor Coaches Show live from Rudy's, and we'll be right back after this. Glad you're with us. Rudy's Barbecue, Real Texas Barbecue. Want to remind you about the Baylor Athletics app. Bear fans, download the all-new Baylor Athletics app today. Up-to-the-minute news, on-demand video at your fingertips, and more. Available in the App Store and Google Play. Download today. And pleased to have with us this open date, open week show. Walter Abercrombie is here tonight. Appreciate it, Walt. Thanks very much.
Great. It's great to be with you, John.
Thanks for being here. We're going to buy your dinner tonight. You could go anywhere in town and somebody would buy your dinner, I'm sure, but we're going to be the ones this evening. Thanks for being here. And I'm curious, you've got your finger on the pulse of the Letterman, as head of the Letterman's Association. And I know everyone is fully behind Coach Rule and this staff, even with the start, the 0-5 start to this year. What's the sense that you get from Letterman?
It's we had a lot of Lettermen who were so bought into the program when Browse was here, and all of us got used to the winning ways, and so it was difficult transition for a lot of us who were big Browse fans to accept what happened with the program. But I'm telling you, I cannot imagine a better person to step in at the time we needed him than Matt Rule. He's been the right leader for us. I think he is going to be an outstanding head coach in the future for Baylor University. And the feeling I get from all of us who played the game, who are uniquely invested into the program as athletes, I think we can sense when we have the right leader in the program. So we have the right leader. I know we're 0-5 right now. It's difficult to understand that. But for those of us who are invested uniquely in this program, we feel that the program, even though the record isn't out there, we've been in every game, John. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
And took Oklahoma to the wire. So I think we're headed in the right direction. And if there's ever anybody that's going to stick with this program till the end, it's going to be Baylor Letterman. Yeah. And so I'm proud to be a part of this group because of their longevity in terms of their stick-to-itness with our program. And Matt Rule's our man. And we believe in him. We're going to stick with him.
And I know your group has had opportunity to hear from Coach Rule. I mean, he can win over a room, can't he? I mean, when he speaks to any group, you leave feeling better about the shape of the program just hearing from him.
That's exactly right. And he's saying the right things, and I think he's teaching the right things to the young people over which he has charge. And so I'm excited about him. Some of the things they're doing are foundation building things that he's doing to our program. And so we have confidence in that he's going to build the foundation that we need in order so that when we start winning and we begin to win championships and become national contenders, then we know that we're doing things the right way. And that's the lesson that we can learn from what happened with the previous head coach. That when we win, we want to make sure we're doing it the right way, and that we can maintain a type of success that I think Baylor deserves.
Boy, that's great. Let's reminisce a little bit, okay? And one thing I told you that I was going to bring up was 1978. You guys, you're freshmen. You had. I was going to say you had hair, but that wouldn't be nice. You were a freshman at Baylor, and that team got off to a rough start. You're playing a tough schedule. You played Georgia, Kentucky, and Ohio State all on the road, and played well, but lost those games. Then you lost your first two conference games. That team started 0-5, and that was the last time prior to this year that we've had a team start 0-5. But then Game 6 for you and for Baylor was very memorable. Very memorable. It was my first game. I hadn't played up to that point. So we're going into College Station, preparing to play Texas A&M. This was a ranked team that time. And nobody in the world thought that we had a chance to win the game, and including me probably. But I got a chance to go in the game a little bit before halftime, and boy, it changed the program. It changed my career, and I think gave us the lift we needed that season to finish strong. I think that year we also finished the year beating Texas at the last home game. So you never know when a young player is going to step up and make a difference in a program. It just so happened to be me in 1978. I got into the game, ran for 207 yards. We beat A&M, and I think that gave us the momentum to go into the 1979 season and go to a bowl game, the Peach Bowl, for those of you who remember that. So I'm not giving up on this squad. This squad has a lot of potential. I've been watching them each week. We've been in every game. There's just little bitty things that we can correct that's going to give us the spark we need to finish the year in a positive manner, and then hopefully give us some hope and with the recruits and everything for next year. Yeah. So that game against A&M, you didn't start, or did you start that game? I did not start that game. You came in. I came in. What happened was our starting running back, Greg Hawthorne, he broke his hip at the Ohio State game earlier this season, so he was out for the year. The second team running back, who was a pretty heck of a running back himself, was Frank Pollard, who went on to play 11 years in the NFL. And Frank broke his jaw in the first quarter of the Texas A&M game. Oh, gosh. So here we are with our top two running backs who are both NFL prospects. They go down. And here's a young freshman who never played in a college game sitting on the sideline, and coach is like going, well, what am I going to do? Let's pull the red shirt off of this freshman. And I was wide-eyed. I was scared to death. A&M was bigger than life to me. And the last game I played in was Waco High, right over there at the Municipal Stadium. And so in terms of football games. So I go into a game as a freshman, and the first play was a pitch to the right, and it went for a pretty good distance. And I never will forget, man, this is pretty good. This is pretty easy. Now, y'all got to remember it. I played at University High School, and the biggest lineman, I think, was about 5'10", 165 pounds. Right. And so when I got to Baylor and I saw those huge linemen, I thought, I died and gone to heaven. I thought, this is going to be easy. And so fortunately for me, I got a chance to run behind those big guys, and it turned out well for us that year. And that game
We beat the Aggies. I'm so proud of that. In fact, many of people don't know this, John. For 4 years we played Baylor. For my class, 1978 class, we never lost to the A&M Aggies. And now that's one of the accomplishments I felt like as a Baylor Bear that I could be proud of.
We were talking to Shawn Bell about the 04 win over A&M.
Right.
It's funny how many great Baylor memories are against A&M, but that's a credit to them, really. I mean, because it was a rivalry for so many years. So you run for 207 yards. You're the king of the world here. At that, the rest of the season, how did you work in, or what was the rotation? Did Pollard come back, or did you get most of the carries the rest of that season?
For the most of the season, I got the majority of the carries because I stayed healthy and finished the year with a little over 600 yards rushing in 6 games or so. And so I felt like I was off to a good start. I was really sorry for Frank. Frank, I don't know if he came back that year because his jaw was broken and it was wide shut for the rest of the season, I believe. But Greg Hawthorne was out for the entire year. And interestingly, those two guys were injured their senior years. And ended up being drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers. And both of them went to the Steelers. And then, of course, 4 years later, I end up going to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
The Steelers, yeah.
And so that was something I'll always remember, that we had 3 Baylor Bears in the backfield for the Pittsburgh Steelers in 1982.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
several
really
games,
cool.
Yeah.
All right, speaking of the Steelers, we got a question for you from the audience, but we need to take a break. We'll do that and then get to that when we come back. This is the Baylor Coaches Show. We're live at Rudy's with the great Walter Abercrombie with us tonight. Visit more with him when we come back. Stay with us. We'll return in a moment. Rudy's on the Circle in Waco. Again, appreciate our hosts here at Rudy's, and want to make note of these really terrific cups. Normally in the month of October, Rudy's does a cup for a cause, and more often than not, it's been a pink cup to raise awareness to breast cancer awareness. But this year, with the hurricane that hit the Gulf Coast and Texas, they have done something a little different. They've got these that say Texas Strong, and proceeds from these cups that are sold here through the month of October, and T-shirts. They have Texas Strong T-shirts that are available for purchase here. They can't keep them in stock, but if you catch them on a good day, maybe you can get one of those T-shirts, and the proceeds go for Hurricane Harvey relief. So well done by Rudy's. We appreciate them for doing that, and this is for the month of October, so keep that in mind as you come by here. Get one of these great collector's cups. Get a T-shirt if you would like as well, and great cup for a cause helping with Hurricane Harvey relief. Walter Abercrombie is with us, second half of our show here from Rudy's. And Walter, we do have a question from the audience. It's from Ben Sickham-Hagens right down front here. And he says, other than you, who was the toughest Steeler that you played with, and who hit the hardest from another team? Good question.
It's a very good question, Ben. And that's a tough one for me because I played on a team that had a lot of Hall of Famers on defense. And so when you're talking to a running back and you ask me who the toughest is, I'm immediately thinking about the guys I have to go against every day in practice. And so when you consider guys like Joe Green and the linebacker, Jack Lambert, Jack Ham, Donnie Shell at the safety.
Pick one, right?
Pick any of those guys. But you know what? What I'm going to do is because they were all tough. They were all tough in their own way, and they were all Hall of Famers, and for a reason. But the toughest player that I played with was a guy named Mike Webster, our center. Mike Webster had to be the toughest guy I think I've ever been around in my life. He had played for a number of years. He ended up dying tragically because of brain injuries, but he was a guy who showed up to work every single day. He played in unbelievably cold weather, and he never had a long sleeve shirt on. And I always thought that was pretty amazing. You know, being a guy from Texas, I get cold if the wind blows a little bit. But Mike would go out and he would prepare himself every single week. Even at the age he was, right before he retired, he would go out and be the hardest worker at practice every single day. And I had a great deal of respect for him because of his work ethic. But, man, there's been another tough guy like that. There's not been another one. He was an unbelievably tough guy, committed, determined, and one of the great leaders on our team. And many times in the fourth quarter, when all of us are tired and we're cold and we want to get off the field, Mike was the inspiration for us to pull it together. Let's pull it together. Let's finish this game strong. And so I'll always remember Mike as one of the toughest players to play with. In terms of being an opponent, I got hit one time by a defensive end from Detroit. His name was Mike Kofer. I see his name sometimes in the skies at night when I look up.
Left lasting impact on you.
He did leave an impact on me. He hit me one time when I was running a sweep to the right, and I reversed field because it was clogged up over there. There was no place to run. And I turned around, and I was going to run back the other way and beat everybody for a touchdown. As soon as I turned, Mike Kofer was right there staring me in the face, and he hit me in my ear. And I dropped the ball, and that's the last thing I remember.
Wow.
That was quite a hit, and I'll never forget that. He went on. He was a great player for the Lions, Mike Kofer.
Wow. Good questions, man. Very good. A couple of minutes we have left, Walter. You, through the B Association, have the Hall of Fame induction banquet, Hall of Fame and Wall of Honor induction banquet that is coming up in a couple of weeks, October 20th. It's another great class. I mean, every year we say that, but, man, it is a great class that you'll induct into the Baylor Athletic Hall of Fame this year.
John, that's exactly right. You know, we talk about this each year. How can one class be better than the last class?
Right.
We keep thinking every year is the greatest class we will ever see, and then we end up finding the committee gets together and they find another outstanding class the next year. And so this class is outstanding truly because we have such great All-Americans and in this class. I'm so proud. Benjamin Becker is going to be here this year. You know, he was playing professionally, and he retired right at the time we chose him. And so he's back here at Baylor. He's going to be one of the inductees, and I'm proud he's going to be part of this class. Also, Stephanie Blackman. Stephanie was a great All-American for Baylor, women's basketball player, living in New York right now. She's excited about coming back to Waco to receive this honor, and so we're happy to have Stephanie back. Ron Francis, the quietest guy you think you've ever met in your life. Ron was an All-American, an All-Conference defensive back for the Bears in the 1990s. The mid-1980s, and went on to a fine career in the NFL. He's coming back. Bill Hicks. Many of you remember Bill Hicks. He was a longtime assistant with Coach Taft in the early 70s and in the 80s, all the way up until he was with Coach Taft till he retired. So Bill is going to be part of the class. We're excited about him. Jeff Jackson, some of you who are track fans will remember the hurdler Jeff Jackson. He's part of this class. Bill Payne, the great All-American pole vaulter. Also, Jennifer Jordan Washington, who is one of the great 400-meter runners for the Bears. We're thrilled to have her as a part of this class. Also, let me just say that we're thrilled to have probably the first woman golfer that we've ever had in the Hall of Fame in Melanie Wilhite, and she's going to be part of this class as well. And that rounds up our Hall of Fame class. Now, we also recognize a Wall of Honor recipient, and the Wall of Honor recipient this year, and that's a person who's had somewhat of a lifetime achievement type recognition, and that's going to be Jim Daniel. Jim Daniel is a great banker from Oklahoma City, has done a lot for the Oklahoma City area in terms of contributions, and then he's been a great supporter of Baylor athletics through the years, and so we're real thrilled about that class.
That's great. October 20th, homecoming weekend. Tickets are available through the B Association if you want to be there for the Hall of Fame and Wall of Honor induction banquet. Well, thanks for being here tonight. Appreciate it. Always great to visit with you.
Great to see you again,
Thank
John.
you, man.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
Walter Abercrombie with us tonight. Take a break. Be back and wrap things up right after this. This to wrap things up from Rudy's on our Baylor Coaches Show this week. Next week, tell you we will be right back here and hope you'll join us as we look ahead to the Baylor-Oklahoma State game on October 14th. Here's what's happening this weekend in Baylor athletics. No football, but plenty of other activities. Cross-country runs at the Aggieland Open. Baylor soccer hosting Texas Tech Friday night, 7 p.m. at Betty Lou Mays Field. Neat promotion. It will be Pups at the Pitch. If you would like to bring your dog to the match, they are welcome for this one. I'm not sure about all of them, but this one, Pups at the Pitch, Baylor and Texas Tech, Friday evening at 7. Women's tennis hosting the HEB Invitational all weekend. Equestrian at Oklahoma State. And volleyball coming off the big win over Iowa State, host West Virginia Saturday at 2. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you next time from Rudy's.